Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel Living in Canada. Today in this video I want to talk about 3 reasons why you should consider renting a studio apartment or sharing an apartment with your friends or other people. Basically getting a place to live that is relatively cheap compared to a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom apartment. But before I start, I first want to know what your situation is, so please do let me know in the comments below. I'd really love to know. But since you've clicked on this video, I think that one of these 3 situations will apply to you. Number 1 is that you haven't moved to Canada yet, but you're already starting to think about where you want to live here, what kind of place you want to get once you move here. Number 2 is that perhaps you've just arrived here in Canada or in Toronto, and currently you're living at a temporary place that might be a friend's place or an Airbnb or a hotel, and you're in the process of actively looking where to move to, and you're going on the internet, going to Google, Facebook, and you see all these options. There are so many options to choose from. You can rent a house, you can rent a basement, a 2-bedroom apartment, 1-bedroom apartment, a studio, and you can live in a condo or in an older building. And there are also so many areas to choose from, so it can be a bit daunting and confusing what choice to make. So my goal with this video here is to help you a bit with that. And the third situation could also be that you are already here in Toronto in Canada and you already have a place to stay, but you are thinking of perhaps moving out and moving to another place, maybe somewhere that's nicer, a nicer area or a bigger place, and you're in the process of just considering the pros and cons and just thinking about where you should move next. So in this video, I want to give you 3 reasons why you should seriously consider just renting a studio apartment or a cheap basement apartment, or simply moving in with some friends, getting together with some friends from either work or from your university or college, getting an apartment together and then just splitting that cost. So just to give you a brief overview in case you're not familiar with the rent prices here in Toronto, and keep in mind these are very general ranges and there are always exceptions, of course. So a studio apartment would cost you anywhere from $1,300 to $1,500, but of course, like I said before, if you it really depends on where it's located and what kind of building it is. Is it an older building or a newer condo? I mean, if it's a very upscale condo, then even just getting a studio there could maybe even cost you $1,700 or $1,800. But on the other hand, if you get a studio or a basement apartment in a building that is relatively older, then in some places you can still find something as cheap as $1,100, $1,200. In my case, for example, full disclosure, I and my husband, we live in a studio apartment in an older building, and currently we pay $1,250. Oh, they just raised it by $30, I think, $1,280, which is a very, very low rent compared to what I'm going to tell you next. So let's go on to the 1-bedroom apartment. How much does a 1-bedroom apartment cost here in Toronto or in big cities in Canada in general? So you can easily expect to pay $1,500, $1,500 Canadian dollars for a 1-bedroom apartment, and that is on the very cheap side. I would even say that it's very, very difficult to find something like that, but it's not impossible, because recently when I was doing some searching myself, I actually found and viewed a 1-bedroom apartment in a very nice condo that was rented out for $1,500. But on average, I would say that a 1-bedroom apartment would cost closer to $1,600, $1,700 per month. So there you can see that there's quite of a difference there. If we just take the mid-ranges of each, let's say the studio, let's take $1,300 there, and average of a 1-bedroom condo $1,700 or $1,800, then it's $500 more expensive. And that leads me to the first reason. So let's just get right into the first reason why you should seriously consider getting a studio instead of a 1 bedroom or 2 bedroom apartment which is the financial aspect. The financial aspect is something that's very important to consider and pay attention to when you just move to Canada, or in general when you make a big change in your life, a big change such as moving to a new country, a new city. Then usually in the beginning it feels like starting something new, and there are a lot of expenses that are incurred. You need to buy new stuff, and you're basically starting a new life, and maybe you're even thinking about starting a family sometime sooner or later. Maybe you might get a car in the next few years, or maybe you're even thinking about buying your house here someday in the next few years, although that might seem very distant to you at the moment, but it can happen much faster than you would think. So in any case, it's very, very important that when you move over here to Canada, that you start building up your savings as soon as possible. Haha, I know it's not as easy, because the reality is that in the beginning, when you're moving over here to Canada, actually you're not saving, but you're kind of in the minus all of the time, because you have so many expenses, right? You have apart from your first rent, you would need to pay your deposit for your apartment, and then if you're studying here, you need to pay your tuition fee. Perhaps you're getting a car here if you don't want to take public transportation, which I seriously recommend, by the way, and your flight ticket to fly over here, costs for your visa, and I know, like from my own experience, there are so many expenses, and it's difficult to save in the beginning. But nevertheless, you need to really start saving up soon, because later on in the next years of your life here, there are going to be other expenses, and you do not want to spend all of your money upfront on a very expensive rent. And if we look at the difference of, let's just say $500 between a studio apartment and a 1 bedroom apartment, it might not seem that much, and you might even be able to afford that. But over the years, it really, really piles up. Just imagine $500 over 1 year, 12 months, 500 times 12 is $6,000. And if you understand anything about finances, and you understand the importance of compounding, then you can imagine how much that money, that $6,000 savings per year, will be worth in 10 years. Let's just simply say that in 10 years, the value of it will double. It might be even more, but let's just be more conservative and say that it will double in value. So imagine that $6,000 in 10 years from now will become $12,000. So that's how much money you would have saved if you simply went for a studio apartment instead of going for a 1 bedroom apartment. So now you might say, but I'm coming here as a couple with my spouse, or I even have a little kid or so. Like, it's not possible. We need like 2 bedrooms for the 3 of us. And in this case, I still seriously would urge you to reconsider. And I want to share with you one of the principles that I am applying right now at the moment, which I would just simply call -1. So when I look for an apartment, a place to live, I try to apply this principle -1, meaning that I look for an apartment that has one less room than I would ideally like to have. So, for example, I am here in Canada with my husband. There are 2 of us. Ideally, we would like to have a 1 bedroom apartment, or even a 2 bedroom apartment would be awesome, right? Because now during the pandemic, we both work at home, and it would be nice to have like another office, so each one of us could have their own dedicated space to work. But since I'm applying that -1 rule, it means that I'm going for a place that has one room less, which would be a 1-bedroom apartment, or even more extreme, a studio apartment where I'm living at now. And it is not as difficult and not as cramped as you might imagine. It simply depends on how you arrange your space, how well maintained your space is. If you don't have a lot of stuff and if you have a nice layout, then you can actually make everything work very well. And remember, you get to save that $6,000. So that's a very important reason. I spent a bit too much time on that, so I will go on to number 2. So the second reason why you should consider renting something cheaper, like a studio apartment or a basement apartment, is because the indirect expenses that you will incur because of all the stuff that you would otherwise have. So let me explain. We tend to accumulate stuff, items, buy things, depending on the living space that we have. So let's just say in an extreme case, you only have 15 square meters or 150 square foot to live in. Then naturally you would likely not accumulate that much stuff, and you would not buy that much stuff, because you look at your space and every time you go and want to shop something, you ask yourself, but where should I put it? I don't have any space. I only have 15 square meters and I don't have any place to put that beautiful $500 coffee table, or I don't have any space to I don't know, like add another drawer or cupboard there in the corner. But on the other hand, if you have a lot of space, let's say that you have a 1-bedroom apartment that's like 70 square meters large, then in that case you will easily just buy stuff and try to fill up that space. And the larger your space is, the bigger the likelihood is that you will buy more stuff, simply because you have the space to put it in. Another very simple example is, if you have a 2-bedroom apartment, then you will need to furnish those 2 rooms, regardless of whether you use it or not, because even though you use one room just as a guest room and it's idle, but still you think, okay, that's a nice rug that could go into the guest room, or you see, okay, that's a nice like drawer that I just saw at IKEA, that would go nice into the bedroom, or oh, that's a beautiful painting and our guest room, like it has like this blank space, this blank wall, I think we should get that and buy that too. So see how easily you accumulate these expenses, and how easily you would be spending double that of what you would have spent if you were just to stick to a smaller place, like to a studio. So the fact that I now live in a studio helps me to maintain fewer belongings. So I'm living a quite minimalistic lifestyle, I would say. I only really have the things that I need in my studio apartment, because I know I don't have the space, I don't have anywhere to put it. So I'm very, very selective in buying and shopping things. But it's very useful, because the effect is that I do not spend that much money. I keep my expenses low. So these are the examples of the indirect expenses that are incurred from renting a larger space. So it's not just the additional $500 or so that you spend on your monthly rent, but it's also that additional rug, or that additional shower curtain that you spend for the second bathroom, or those additional 10 frames that you buy because you have that other office. And so on. I mean, let me know in the comments what your experience has been with that. Have you ever lived in a larger place, perhaps in your home country, a large house, and have you had that experience that because of that you tend to buy more things just because you have the space? Yeah, I'm speaking from my own experience, because back in Indonesia, in our home country, for a time we actually lived in a house that was, it was pretty big for the two of us, around 180 square meters, and yeah, we just kept on buying stuff because we had the space. Okay, I'm sure that you get my point here. So let's just go on to the third reason why you should seriously consider getting a studio apartment instead of a larger 1 bedroom or 2 bedroom apartment. And the reason here is mobility. And it is very closely connected to reason number 2, the indirect expenses, but here I'm talking about a slightly different aspect. So mobility is your ability to be mobile, to easily move around, but not just move around in the city, in your neighborhood, but actually moving around the country. This is what I mean. Let's say that now you've just arrived in Canada and you're going to go to Toronto, starting a new life here. But how do you know that you will stay here in Toronto forever? I mean, I like it here. I mean, seriously, I really love living here in Toronto. But at the same time, I also don't know for sure whether or not I will stay here in Toronto for the rest of my life. And neither do you, perhaps, right? And if you stay at a smaller place, like a studio apartment, and live a more minimalistic life with fewer stuff, with less stuff there, it will make you much more mobile. Because if you have an opportunity to, let's say, move to another city, another province, let's just say you get a job offer, or let's just say that you went on vacation, you went on a trip, and you went to Vancouver or whatever, and it turned out that, oh, I like that city better than Toronto, and you want to move there. And let's say that you live at a 2 bedroom apartment, or even worse, you rented a whole house here for your family. That will make it very difficult for you to move, and it will be a serious factor that you would consider, and that will perhaps be an obstacle to you moving, because from the beginning you would think, no, this is too complicated. I have to uproot my life again, move over to Vancouver, for example, but I need to move all this stuff. I have this big dining set, and I have all this china, and I have all these kitchen utensils, and all these sport gear and equipment and all this furniture, and I have to move everything to the other city. I mean, of course there are movers and everything, but still it's a lot of work to move everything over, and that could, even just subconsciously, it could be a factor in deciding whether or not you want to move to a different place, and indirectly it will limit your mobility. On the other hand, if you live in a cheaper place, like a studio apartment, for example, and you don't have a lot of stuff, you are very mobile. I mean, just on a psychological level, it gives you the feeling that you're highly mobile, because if you want to move somewhere at a moment's notice, or let's say a month, like within a month, you can easily pack up everything, or you can even just leave stuff. If you don't have a lot of stuff, then you can just take a few suitcases with you, but part of your stuff you can just give to the neighbors, or you can just sell it. It's much less complicated than having to dissolve a huge household, right? Yeah, so those were the 3 reasons why I think you should get a studio apartment. Financial reasons, so it enables you to save, and number 2 was avoiding the indirect expenses incurred from having a larger place and buying a lot of stuff, and number 3 is to increase your mobility, or at least your sense of mobility. So I really hope that this video was useful to you. Let me know in the comments what you think about this, and also if it has changed your mind about what kind of place you want to get once you arrive here in Toronto. And also, I know that I've not been uploading as frequently on this channel, and many of you have told me that you would like to see more videos from me, and the honest reason why I've not been uploading more frequently is that I have 2 other channels. I have my main channel, which is Multiple Careers, and another channel, which is my Multiple Careers podcast. On those 2 channels, I talk about careers. I talk about how you can build a fulfilling and meaningful career instead of just being stuck in the 9 to 5 and working a job that you do not like. So if that is something that interests you, then I will leave the link down in the comments and also in the end cards, so you can just go ahead and click on that and check that out and see if you like it. If you like it, then go ahead and subscribe. But in any case, if you enjoyed this video, also don't forget to like it and also leave your comments down below. Let me know if you have any questions. Also, let me know what your ideas are for future videos. And I may or may not make a video on it, but it will definitely be helpful for me because I'll keep that in mind when I'm thinking of video ideas in the future. And yeah, if it's something that's in line with what my channel is about, and if I think I have something to say on it and it benefits a lot of people, then I will definitely make a video on that. So thank you so much for watching, guys. It was really great to have you here, and yeah, I wish you a great day, and I'll see you in the next video.